Hi everyone, we're going to look at the Revit user interface today. We're going to go through all the sections of our screen and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what everything does. So we're going to start at the very top here of the window. The first thing we have is this big R icon, which will show you things like new project, opening, saving, publishing, printing, all the kind of things that you're used to seeing in a Windows program, and also some recently opened documents. The other thing that's important to note here, besides the Exit Revit button, is a little button here called Options. So if we click on Options, it gives us a ton of different options for different parts of the program. The nice thing is there's a save reminder interval that you can change to make it, easily shorter or longer. You have the ability to change your username as it appears when you're working in a work shared document and some other things like that. You can also change the way that your user interface is set up. You can change how things display, including your selection colors. This becomes very important if you're working with a lot of blue items and you can't see what you've selected, things like that. This will also show you the locations for your templates, where your files get saved when you're work sharing, so on and so forth. We have some render options here, spelling things, view cube, all these things that you probably won't change, but you have some options for them there. So you can just kind of scroll through. Everything's pretty self-explanatory. The next thing we have is we have a set of small buttons up here that we're calling the Quick Access Toolbar. So the Quick Access Toolbar can actually be added to at any time. All you have to do is right-click on an item and Add to Quick Access Toolbar will come up and you can place things up here. The ones that are really valuable, in my opinion, when I use this program are obviously you can use Control-S for save, but you can also click Save here. If you're working in a work sharing program, the Synchronize and Modify Settings button is fantastic. You have the ability to undo multiple steps here, so that's kind of nice if you don't want to hit Control-Z a million times. And the things that I think are really valuable are this button called Thin Lines, which toggles whether or not the line weights appear on your screen, and then this tile window button where you can go through and see all your open windows. Moving on, just below the Quick Access Toolbar, there are a series of palettes and toolbars and things here that are basically the meat and potatoes of how you model. So these are going to be all of your basic modeling commands. Your Architecture tab has most of the things that you need to create a building, including some rooms and things we'll look at later. You have structural systems here. You have your HVAC systems. Insert is where you can, if you were working in CAD, you would call this an XREF. So this is where your linked Revit models are. If you have a secondary model you want to link in, like a structural model. You also have the ability to import and link CAD documents here. And the big difference between these two buttons of Link CAD and Import CAD is that the Link CAD stays updated even as you change the CAD file, whereas the Import CAD brings it in and it's saved state and doesn't update it. Annotate gives you everything you'll need to make drawing sets, so things like your dimensions and elevations. You have detail lines, which are like drafted two-dimensional lines for your view. Regions, which are like hatches in CAD. You have some detail components that you can use to create details. There's a little insulation tool, which is fantastic. We've got some text, tags, so on and so forth. Lots of different things here. I get this question a lot. If you're looking for a north arrow, it's under the symbol command too, just so you know. There's some analysis tools in Revit, so lots of different analysis tools here. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Massing tools, again, to create masses so that you can do things like create mass-based curtain wall, roof, wall, and floor systems. Topo surfaces for site. You can add trees and plantings with this little button. Your Collaborate is where you're going to be able to do all your work sharing. View is anywhere that you're looking for views of your project. This is where your render settings are. You can add sections and plans here. You have these great things called view templates where you can kind of change how a view is affected across multiple views, so you can keep them very consistent. Like if you have plans that all need to be with the same line weights and the same thing showing, etc. You can use view templates for that. Here again are all those views, plans, sections, elevations. You have a thing here called Scope Box, and this is where you can set up a small part of your plan that can be repeated over and over again. So let's say that you have a stair in your building and you need to show stair plans at every single level or something. That Scope Box can help you crop those views consistently every single time. The ability to make new drawing sheets here. There are lots of different options here, like revisions and things like that. You also have your program windows options here to switch. You can cascade and tile and things. These also have hotkeys, which I'll go over later. You have the ability to add and subtract parts of your interface. You can change how your browser is organized over here on the left. And you have the option for keyboard shortcuts. So you can go in here and change or add new keyboard shortcuts if you want. Under the Manage tab, there are a lot of different settings. You have your materials library here if you want to look directly at a specific material. There's all sorts of options for how object styles, how things are displayed in the program. You have the ability to do Purge Unused, which is going to, as it says here, remove unused families and family types from a project. It'll make your file a lot smaller. You have the ability to put in the exact location and position of your building. There's a thing here called Design Options, which is a fantastic little thing we'll get into later, but allows you to look at different model options for your building. You can manage your links here. These are your CAD links, images, etc. You can manage in here, and your faces as well. You have add-ins, they'll be here, and then your Modify tab. And the thing that's interesting about the Modify tab is depending on what you've selected, this Modify tab will change to add or subtract tools and options. So the Wall Modify tab might look quite different than the Mass Modify tab, for instance. Okay, down below your toolbars, there's this area, which is kind of like, this area will pop up as green at different times, and it basically gives you further options for the commands. So we'll look at that as we go through several different commands because there'll be options here. For instance, if you do the copy command, generally speaking, if you have anything you can copy, it'll show whether or not you want to copy multiple things. If you have the mirror command, something will show up here that'll allow you to copy or not copy when you mirror. Okay, below that we have the properties palette, and this is going to change depending on what's selected. So in this case, we don't have anything in this model. And what you're looking at are the properties for your floor plan. You've got your scales. I mean, you can go through and look at what these things are, and they mean different things, and they will show you different options as you go down. You can change these very quickly. The important thing to note, I think, personally, if you're looking at floor plans, is there is the view range option here, which allows you to see how far up and how far down the view goes and where it's cut. So this is going to be where your heaviest line weights are showing, is anything that's cut at 4 feet. Different people like to change this to 3 feet or 3/6 or something like that. I usually keep it at 4 feet. You also have the ability to crop your view. So with AutoCAD, when you had viewports, you get to pick kind of exactly what was shown in your field when you were printing. So if you think about like a site, you might have a site modeled in your Revit file, but you don't want to show that in your floor plan, so you can crop the view down to not include the site. And you can choose whether or not the lines of that crop are visible. So that'll turn that off and just give you like a white line or like a non-visible line around. You can choose scope boxes if you want to associate. There are a lot of different options here. You also have phasing. Below this is the project browser, and this is where all of your views are located. So obviously you can see here that Revit starts you out with a series of views. You also have your legends and schedules here, your sheets when you start to make them, your families. So anything that's been loaded into this project will show up here as well as your groups and your Revit links. This is your main modeling window over here, where your building stuff is. And then down below that, we've got the scale of your view, and this is the scale that it prints at as well. So Revit is kind of more of a what you see is what you get interface than a lot of the programs that you may be used to. So it'll print it at 1/8 inch equals a foot as long as you have it set at that. You have a little detail level guy here, so this will show you more or less detail depending on how much you want to show. So you might see the lines of the wall, chipboard and studs and things like that if you select fine. You have the ability to change how this is displayed as far as its graphic options. So things like whether or not it's a hidden line drawing, which will be all black and white lines. Shaded will show you some colors, and then as you go down it gets more realistic in terms of showing you render textures and things. You have a sun path, shadows. You can change your crop here, so you can choose whether your crop is on, and then the little button with the light bulb right next to it is whether the crop region is visible. There's a temporary hide and isolate here that allows you to hide things in a way that makes it easy for you to see when you model, but doesn't change the way that a drawing is printed. This is a fantastic little tool, and we'll look at that more later. There is the Reveal Hidden Elements light bulb, which will show you if you've permanently hidden something, not a temporary hide, but a permanent hide. This will show you all those things that are hidden. You have temporary view properties, so you can change your view properties briefly for you while you're working, but you don't actually have to go back and rechange them back to the actual properties you want for printing. You can hide analytical models, reveal constraints, etc. So there are lots of little useful tools down here for how your view appears. There's some work set options down here. Their design options will show up down here. And there's some other little buttons down here that do various things. Select elements by face, etc., things like this. The thing that's important down here that I use frequently is this small funnel here that's actually, it's a filter tool. So when you've selected multiple things, you can filter them out to pick what you want. That filter button will also pop up here and modify when you've selected multiple things. So here it is. It's also down here as well. The last thing that's important to look at is at the very, very bottom, and that is the status bar here on the bottom left. And this thing is fantastic. Essentially, no matter what command you're in, it's going to tell you what your next step is or what your next option is. So that's the entire user interface. There are some the view cube and the steering wheel and things up here to help you orbit around 3D. If you're in a 3D view, it's going to show up. Things like that. Now, I generally don't use those. I use the options to orbit with the scroll mouse, and I don't have any problems with that. But we can look at that a little bit later on as well. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.